To the holy Swamins and to all of you, I offer my pranams. Patanjali Yoga Darshan. An authority on yoga and also a great and the only source book on yoga, philosophy as well as practice. We are doing the second aphorism of the second quarter of Yoga Darshana. Samadhi bhavanarthaha klesha tanu karanarthascha. This is the second aphorism. In the first aphorism we saw the description of the Kriya Yoga. Kriya Yoga has three limbs that we have seen already. Tapa is there. Tapa means effort and tolerance. Swadhyaya is there. Swadhyaya means acquisition of a knowledge. Acquisition of a knowledge. And practice of concentration. The third one is Ishvara Pranidhana. It is a belief in the existence of the eternal reality and offering the two feelings, the I and my. This is a Kriya Yoga. In brief, this is Kriya Yoga. He believes in the existence of God. Believes. He needs no proof for the existence of God. And he has no doubt about it. Because he says, God is to be there. Because God is a principle, not a person. It is the foundation of all existence, material as well as mental. If the world is to be there, if the mind is to be there, there must be some foundation because the world is limited by time. Means there was no world in the beginning, and there will not be this world in the end. There must be something before the emergence of the world, and after the emerging of the world, there must be something, and that something is called God. And it is the ground force, cosmic force, the source of all the forces that are acting in this universe. Whether it is a magnetic force, gravitational force, or a nuclear forces. Whatever force is there in the world, it comes from the main force, the cosmic one. That cosmic force is called God, the divine. I have to believe it, though I don't see it, and it is not possible to see it. I have to believe it, and belief makes me makes me capable of stilling the mind. Means I have to free my mind from all bondages. This is possible only if we believe in ourselves, in myself as different from the body, in my own existence as different from the existence of the material world. I have to believe in it, and this existence is unbound existence, not bound by birth and death. That's why he says, believe in it. Believe in the existence of God or the divine, and it is a principle. Surrendering means offering, means I am not responsible for all the activities that are taking place in the whole universe. The sun is there, he shines not because of me. The earth is there, it is rotating and also revolving, not because of me. There is not a single activity that is going on in this universe for which I am the cause. If the whole world is controlled by some cosmic force, I can't imagine that I am responsible for any activities in this world. The bodily activities, they are not my activities. They don't obey me. The body doesn't obey me. My mind is there. It is under my control. That alone I can direct and guide. Therefore, Patanjala says, yours is the mind. Use it and make your life a joy, an experience of joy. Therefore, he deals with the mind always. Mind is our wealth, our great instrument. It is wealth, it makes me rich. It is a great instrument, it can achieve anything. Therefore, use the mind. Use the mind, and your life will be beautiful and joyful, blissful, he says. Now after Kriya Yoga, he comes to the second aphorism. Why we should practice Kriya Yoga? What are we going to gain from this Kriya Yoga, get from this Kriya Yoga? How we are going to be benefited by this Kriya Yoga? This is the problem. This is the question. And he answers in the second aphorism. He says, Samadhi bhavanarthaha klesha tanu karanarthascha. These are the two purposes, reasons for which we have to practice Kriya Yoga. These are the two reasons. The first is Samadhi Bhavanartha. And the second one is Tanu Karana, Klesha Tanu Karanarthascha. Bhavana means developing or achieving, developing. Tanu Karana means thinning out, minimizing, weakening. Tanu Karana. Klesha Tanu Karana. Klesha means obstructions, afflictions, the causes of suffering, the causes of bondage. They are called klesha. Samadhi bhavana, samadhi you know already. In the first chapter, in the whole chapter, he gave the description of samadhi. And here he says, samadhi bhavana. If we have to attain samadhi, it is necessary to practice Kriya Yoga. Means the mind must be ready to get into samadhi, attain the state of samadhi. And this readiness comes from the practice of Kriya Yoga. Mind must be ready. This readiness comes from Kriya Yoga. What is samadhi? Just in few words, what is samadhi? Samadhi is samadhi. Means mind is not working. That doesn't mean mind is not there. Mind is there. Mind has not entered into the state of sleep. Mind is there, but it is not working. That doesn't mean it is inactive. Mind is there. Mind is still. Mind is undisturbed. Mind is quietened. That quietened state of mind is called samadhi. This is one of the meanings. The second meaning is samadhi means getting to the superconscious level, lifting the mind to that level. Or we have to reach that level of consciousness where we can experience our unity with the Supreme Reality. My unity with the Supreme Reality. I have to experience, but at this level of consciousness here, now, this level of consciousness, at this level of consciousness, it is not possible. The first level of consciousness is the external cognition or consciousness. This is the first consciousness. There are 4 states of consciousness. The first is the external consciousness. The second one is internal consciousness. The third one is the consciousness of nothing, the blissful consciousness. And fourth one is the transcendental consciousness or supreme consciousness. And when we reach the supreme consciousness, we experience the reality, the existence of reality. My unity with the existence of reality. But at the first level of consciousness, it is not possible. What is the first level of consciousness? Means yoga is a journey from the lower consciousness to the highest consciousness. And what is the first consciousness? I am aware of these flowers on the table. This is the first external awareness. I am aware of the external world. The table is outside me. The flowers are outside me. These are trees and all of you are outside me. How do I come to have the awareness of your existence? I just open my eyes, use my mind. I become aware of the flowers, of the table, of all this nature. I am aware of it. This awareness of the external world is called the external consciousness. This is the first level of consciousness. We are always, or most of the time, are on this level of consciousness, at this level of consciousness. And we know how to use this consciousness here. We use the sense organs, get the knowledge of the external world. And every object here, most of the objects here, are having different facets. The flower, for example, or the table here, it has different aspects. There are about 5 aspects, 5 faces to every object. Therefore, every object is called prapancha. Means it is made of 5 faces. Objects have got 5 faces. The whole world has got 5 faces. Therefore it is called prapancha. Pancha, and prapancha means visible. And it is there before your eyes. Not hidden, very visible. This is the world which has 5 faces. And these 5 faces I get the knowledge of through my sense organs. The flower, the table for example, I touch the table. This is the table is, I feel hard or soft. This softness or hardness of the table is one of the faces of the table. The table is hard. Now it is rectangular in shape. It is rectangular in shape. I see the rectangular shape of the table. Means this is another face of the table. This is a form. The first one was touch. And when I tap on the surface of the table, it creates vibrations. And these vibrations I receive and interpret them as sound. Means there is a sound in the table, and this sound is another face of the table. Then there is taste, smell is there, taste is there. Means the table has all the 5 qualities. These qualities make the table. It is a congregation of these 5 qualities. Every object in this world is made of these 5 qualities. Therefore, the world is called prapancha. And I am aware of this prapancha. This is external consciousness. External consciousness. All the living beings, means most of the living beings, are working on this field. Working with this awareness. This awareness they have. Now we go to the next conscious state. The second state of consciousness is internal. I close my eyes, I see so many objects inside me. When I close my eyes, I cannot see the table. But when I close my eyes, I see a table inside my mind. I see a tree inside my mind. I see flowers there. Those flowers you cannot see. You cannot see. That world within me is my private world, my personal world. Nobody can enter into it. The world outside is common world. Common world. This table is very common to all of us. You can see it. I can see it. Anybody can see it. They can touch it. But my table, which is in my mind, you cannot touch. You can't see. It is my private world. Every person has 2 worlds. The external world, which is common to everyone, and there is internal world, which is for my own sake. And it is my world. My world. I can change it, but the external world is very difficult to change. My world is there inside me. Imagination is there. Memory is there. Thoughts are there. Feelings are there. Desires are there. Aspirations are there. So many dreams are there. So much is there inside me. My world is inside me. Everybody has his own world. The external world is one. It is the same for all the people. But internal worlds are different. and they are as many as there are individuals. My world and your world, there is no similarity much between them. My world is I live in my own world. You live in your own world. Therefore, I am different, you are different. Two persons cannot be experiencing the same thing in the same way. It is impossible. When I see this flower, I experience it. But your experiencing of this flower is quite different, because when this flower enters my mind gives different shapes to it. My mind remembers so many things on seeing the flower. My mind gets so many ideas about the flower. Therefore, my experience of the flower, of this flower, is quite different from the experience of this flower, your experience of this flower. Therefore, in Jaina philosophy, they say every object has different faces. And we look from our own angle at the objects. My angle of looking at the world and your angle of looking at the world are not similar. Therefore, my world is different, your world is different. When I look at the external world from my own point of view, I am looking at the world, at the external world. How? In comparing it with my internal world. Or the external world is to get into me, and it gets changed, transformed according to my desires, my expectations, and my dreams. It becomes changed. Therefore, my internal world is mine, yours is yours. Two persons cannot be the same in this world. You may live together for hundreds of years, but your thoughts and their thoughts cannot become the same. They have to be different. Rama and Lakshmana, Rama and Sita lived for so many years, but her thinking is different, his thinking is different. Lakshmana's thinking is different. Everybody's thinking is different. You are married, your wife's thoughts are different. Her expectations are different. Her way of looking at the world is different. Her perception itself is different. Your perceptions are different. Therefore, Socrates says, you are you and she is she. You are you and she is she. If there is to be a compromise, then you have to live in the external world. You have to live in the external world, not to project your internal world on the external world, not to superimpose upon it. Most of the time, we superimpose our thoughts upon the world. Therefore, the problems arise. This is called a superimposition. Means the world, the object is there. I superimpose my thoughts about that object on that object. This object is good. This is bad. But the table is neither good nor bad, neither small nor big. They are my visions, my way of looking at it. If I am small, the table becomes big. If I am big, the table becomes small. Smallness and bigness depends upon my way of looking at the object. Means that is my world. Always I look at the world through my own world. Therefore, the world does not appear the same to everyone in this world. Therefore, it creates problems. Many times we get into problems because of this difference. And the difference must be there. Accept it and there will be no problems. Accept that His world is different, my world is different. Therefore, let me honor, respect his world, and let him respect my world. Mutual respect, that leads to the joy of life. We have to respect each other. Our interests do differ. This is internal world. Here, I am experiencing my own world. How? Through the consciousness internal. There is internal consciousness. This is the external consciousness. This is the second state of a consciousness, internal. Internal world is very wonderful. More wonderful than the external world. More variety, full of variety. The internal world is very rich. And it is always changing. With our experiences, as our experiences increase, as our memories become strong, as our thinking goes on, our internal world changes. That world is very wonderful. We have to experience it. It is the world that belongs to me and to you. It is created my own mind. Your world is created by your own mind. This is the second state of consciousness. Now we go to the third state of a consciousness. Third state means there is no external consciousness. There is no internal consciousness, means there is no awareness of the external world. There is no awareness of the internal world. No world, inside or outside. There is nothing, and I am conscious of nothing. And in having the conscious of nothing, there is some kind of bliss. Therefore, it is called blissful consciousness. It is a blissful consciousness. I don't think of the world. I do not think of the world within me. I am just sitting, not thinking of anything, not aware of the external world, not also aware of my internal world. What is there? Nothing. Nothing. There is no world outside. There is no world inside. Awareness is there, but there is no object of awareness. And this awareness is the awareness of nothing. Nothing. And in being aware of the nothing, there is a kind of a bliss. This bliss is wonderful. This blissful awareness is called blissful awareness, blissful consciousness. This is the third state of consciousness. And everybody has these three states of consciousness. They know it. I know the external world. I know the internal world. I have the experience of the blissful state. These are the three states of consciousness. And everyone is capable of having these three states of consciousness. Now we have to go to the next one. That is called superconsciousness. Superconsciousness. When we get into that superconsciousness, we attain samadhi. Or when we attain samadhi, we are on that or in that realm of consciousness. That is samadhi consciousness. What is there? What is there? There is no external world. There is no internal world. There is no nothing. There is no nothing. What is there? There is simply existence, eternal existence. Eternal existence. No time, no space. Not here, not there. Not now, not then. No death, no birth, no change, Nothing. Then what is there? Simply unlimited consciousness. Unlimited consciousness. That is a samadhi. Samadhi bhavanarthaha. This samadhi we get if we practice Kriya Yoga. This samadhi we get. And for it, the practice of Kriya Yoga is necessary. Means the mind is to be lifted to that height, and if mind is to be able to reach that height, it must practice the Kriya Yoga. We have to practice Kriya Yoga. Means it strengthens the mind to leave the external world, to leave the internal world, and get into the fourth state of consciousness where it can experience the reality. The reality. Samadhi bhavanarthaha. This is the first reason of the practice of Kriya Yoga. Samadhi bhavanartha. Say how beautiful is the samadhi, the fourth state of consciousness. The fourth state of consciousness. It is there, we have to experience it, like the silence. Silence is there, we have to experience it. Sounds are created, silence is not created. We are creating music, but silence cannot be created. You need not do any effort to create silence. And where it is, everywhere it is. Sound may be here, sound may not be there. But silence is here, silence is there. There is no place in the world where there is no silence. But if our mind is not ready, then we cannot experience the silence. If our mind is ready, we can experience it. Means it all depends upon the readiness of the mind. Silence, we can't say, sometimes is, sometimes is not. It is here, there, everywhere. And we have to make our mind ready for it, experience it. And when we experience the silence, we experience deep peace, peace eternal, absolute peace. That is a divine peace, it is called Divya Shanti. It is a Divya Shanti, divine peace. This is a Samadhi Bhavana. And next comes Tanu Karanarthascha. Tanu Karanarthascha. Samadhi Bhavana, mind becomes absorbed. In Samadhi, mind is capable of getting into the state of absorption. Absorption. If there is no absorption, nothing can be achieved in life. Whatever I do it perfectly well only if my mind is capable of concentrating on that object. You have heard the name of Panini, a great name. One of the, not one, but the greatest grammarian of the world, the most ancient grammarian. Probably you don't find such a great Panini anywhere in the world in those days. In the life of Panini, there happened an event. One day, he was teaching grammar to his students. They were small boys. And he was sitting under a tree. In the midst of nature, there was a hermitage, and in that hermitage he lived. And every day he was teaching grammar. He lived grammar, not just taught grammar. He lived it. He says, know the language, how the words are formed, how the sentences are built. You will definitely get liberated from all the bindings of the world, he says. If you do not know how to use the language, you create problems. Use the language in such a way, you become freed. Therefore, Panini's philosophy is know the language to get liberation, moksha. If you want moksha, if you want to live joyfully, then know your language. That is what he was saying. This Panini one day was teaching, and he was so much absorbed in teaching the students that he was not aware of what was happening in his surrounding. On that day, he was explaining how the worlds are formed, how they are originated, how they are constructed. Every world has its own structure. It has its own root, and it has its definite meaning. That he was trying to find out. Hundreds of words he had scientifically investigated to know the nature of the world, to know the internal meaning of the world. He was thinking that every word has its root word, and it is in its verb. It is the verb. For example, Atma. What is Atma? For example, Naka. What is Naka? Naka means Swarga. Naka. He says, Na, Ka. There are three words. Na is there, is there, Ka is there. Na, na. A. Then Ka. Ka means pleasure. Pleasure, happiness. Ka means not happiness, unhappiness. Na ka means there is no unhappiness. That is Naka. This is how he gives the meaning of words. Atma. What is Atma? The word, root word is Atati. Atati iti Atma. Simple. Ata means to pervade, to spread, to fill. Whatever fills the body, it is Atma. Whatever is there within me, it is Atma. This is how he was giving the explanations of every word. On that day, he was thinking about Vyagra. How the word Vyagra is constructed. So much absorbed in it that he did not notice that a Vyagra itself entered the ashrama. The students are there. He is teaching the words, the meaning of the words, the etymological structure of the words. And Vyaghra, he was thinking over it, how it was constructed, what must be its meaning. He was so absorbed. The tiger entered the cottage, entered the ashram. It came near Panini, but Panini is still teaching. And the students are not there, they have fled away. They did flee away. They had fled away. But Panini is teaching. He had forgotten completely the outside world. The tiger attacked him, but still he was teaching. This is concentration. Therefore, he was called a rishi. Concentration. Just for a word. Just for a word. He had to lay his life for a word. And without his knowledge, he was so much absorbed in it. This absorbing nature of the mind is quite necessary for attaining the samadhi. And this absorbing nature is possible only if Kriya Yoga is practiced. Kriya Yoga is practiced. This is the first thing. Kriya Yoga, if we practice to its perfection, then we become able to concentrate and attain the state of fourth consciousness. The fourth state of consciousness. That is samadhi. And what is the other reason? The second reason of Kriya Yoga is Tanukarana. Tanukarana. Tanukarana means cleansing the mind. Mind is to be cleansed of all its impurities. The mind is to be pure, without impurities, very clean, clear. Unless the mind becomes clean and clear, it cannot concentrate on anything and it cannot go to the state of consciousness, fourth state of consciousness. It cannot experience samadhi or it cannot enter into that samadhi state. Tanu Karana, klesha means obstructions. Klesha is obstruction. Klesha is impurity. Obstruction, impurity. Something is there, the cause of suffering, the cause of stress and strain, the cause of misery. Whatever is the cause of bondage and misery, that is called klesha. This klesha is there in the mind. And unless this klesha is removed from the mind, how it is possible to take the mind to that height? How it is possible to silence the mind so that we can enter into the superconscious state? It is impossible. Therefore, Patanjala said, do Kriya Yoga for these two reasons. The first reason is, if you want to attain that state of samadhi, then do Kriya Yoga. If you want to cleanse your mind, if you want to make your mind pure and clean, then you have to do Kriya Yoga. Kriya Yoga. Mind must be clean. What are the impurities? What are the impurities? There are two kinds of impurities, kleshas. The primary impurities are there and the secondary one. Primary impurities are very few. Means causal impurities. They are very subtle. And if they are there, the mind cannot be experiencing the superconscious visions. It is impossible. Therefore, he says there are two kinds of kleshas. means primary one and secondary one. Secondary kleshas, so many are there, hundreds of them, thousands of them, but the primary are very few. A farmer is there, and he cuts the thorny bushes that grow in his field. He cuts them on the surface, he cuts them. But if he leaves the root, if he leaves the root, then they grow again. He may cut many times, thousands of times, still the thorny bush keeps growing. The root is to be removed. In the same way, the causes of suffering are so many. They are external causes. They are superficial causes. And if we remove those causes, if the first cause or root cause remains in us, then it is not possible to cleanse the mind of all its causes of suffering. It is impossible. Klesha tanu karana. Therefore, the kleshas are to be minimized, not the external kleshas, not the superficial kleshas, but the internal root kleshas, the primary klesha are to be removed. Klesha tanu karana, Kriya Yoga is capable of removing these things. You know, there lived a great king in Kashmir, Mahadeva Bhupala. His name was Mahadeva Bhupal. About 900 years before, he was ruling Kashmir. The paradise on earth it is called, not now, in those days. A very beautiful country it was. Very beautiful. A paradise on earth, like Switzerland. And he was the king of that land. A rich kingdom and a very happy kingdom. Nothing was lacking. This king one day left his kingdom. And went away from Kashmir to Kalyan. And there he was living in a small cottage. Just imagine. A person who lived in palace now is living in a small cottage. Only 2 persons in cottage, he and his wife. No one to help them. No one to assist them. And he was cutting the wood and carrying the load of the logs on his head. Just imagine a king carrying a load of wood. How it became possible? Someone asks him. He said, I am not there. I am not there. If I is there, then a king is there, and the wood carrier is there, wood cutter is there. A king cannot be the wood cutter. Now I am not there, therefore there is no king. If there is no king, there is no wood cutter. Just wood cutting is there, ruling is there. I am different from those 2 activities. I am I. Just to see the beauty of it. I am I. Therefore it doesn't make me miserable. I don't worry if I have to cut the wood and sell it in the market and live in a small cottage and there is no money with me. Still I am the happiest person in the world because I am not there. This I is klesha. Tanu karana means the I is not there. It is thinned out. Thin, it becomes thin. Our eyes are very fat, and his eye was very thin. Minimum eye. Ours are maximum eyes. Our eyes, not eye, these eyes. Our eyes are growing every day. With money, with power, with prestige, our eye grows. But in him, it was the minimum, it was in the minimum size. Minimum for the practical reasons. As much as is needed for the practical reasons, only so much I was there in him. He said, minimize the I and your happiness becomes maximized. If you want to be happy, let there be minimum I, minimum ego. Absence of ego, he doesn't speak about. He speaks about a minimum ego. Minimum ego. This is Tanu Karana. Now the problem is, what are the kleshas? What are the primary causes of suffering? What are the causes that are to be removed from the mind? The problem is, the question is asked to him, and Patanjali is going to answer it in detail. What are the kleshas? Unless we know the primary causes of bondage and suffering and worries and cares of life, it is not possible to remove them. We can't expect ourselves to live happily. Therefore, Patanjali deals the problem in detail in the whole chapter. Tomorrow we go to the next aphorism where he speaks about the kleshas. What are the kleshas? What are the primary, not secondary, primary impurities or obstructions or obstacles because of which we are not able to reach the state of happiness? That we shall do tomorrow. Namaskar.